Hey guys, and welcome back. Today I got a message from a subscriber asking why their game is failing. Now I've seen a lot of Roblox games out there and played a ton of them, and I think my feedback could be helpful because it touches on some key areas that both big and small developers can learn from. So let's jump in and break down why I think this game is failing and what these developers can do to fix it. Alright guys, first things first, we gotta talk about these controls. This game is heavily inspired, some would say copied, from a mobile game that's called Hill Climb Racing. And in Hill Climb, there's a brake and gas. That's it. In this game, they continued to use WASD, but since you're locked in a 2D play space, it doesn't make sense to use W to go forward and D to go backwards. The current controls in the game feel very unintuitive. That's a weird word to say. If you swapped W and S to A and D, it would be a lot more intuitive and a lot easier to wrap your head around playing the game. It's more natural to the player, and it makes sense in terms of controlling the direction you're trying to go. Overall, with controls in a game, you want people to feel like they are in control of the game, not fighting against it. So first thing's a pretty simple fix, I'd say, right? Also, if you as the developer are worried about being able to do the flips still, you're overthinking it, man. Even the game that you're replicating only has a gas and a brake, so that's all you need as well. Next up, and we're kind of working backwards here, we need to talk about the tutorial. Oh boy. This game threw so much information at me all at once, and I got a little bit overwhelmed. And if I did, so will other people. And also, they're gonna skip a lot of this tutorial like I did as well. Now, there is a way to go back and look through the tutorial, which I had to do later, but man, this just feels super overwhelming. Honestly, long, overwhelming tutorials are a huge turnoff to new players. And I get that you want to showcase all the cool mechanics in your game, but all those mechanics being introduced immediately just feels like way too much. If I were you, I would take a page out of Pet Go's handbook. They have a lot of gameplay features, but when you first start the game, there's like one button on your screen. And as you play the game, more UI gets introduced to you, more gameplay mechanics get introduced. Just overall, it's not sending you into an overcomplicated mess, we'll say. Just too much to wrap your head around. I do think if you introduced things more slowly, it would help the player quite a bit. They'll also appreciate each mechanic a lot more, as it'll feel like they're unlocking stuff, instead of just, oh yeah, this was in the tutorial too. Next up, let's talk about the visuals. Now, I am all for creativity and random build styles and game styles. However, playing through this game, it felt like nobody was on the same page. Like there was 5 builders and none of them talked to each other. Looking around the map when you spawn in really does feel like one of those no communication challenges, except only for builders. I feel this way about the UI as well. Just consistency isn't there. No UI consistency and no gameplay consistency with the builds. I mean, let's go into this car shop. Look at all of these boxy cars. Pretty cohesive style, and then we have this awesome motorcycle, which, you know, I like motorcycles, so it's cool that it looks good, but it just doesn't match anything. And just all of these inconsistencies, they make the game feel non-cohesive and honestly a bit rushed. You have to have some consistency in your designs and in your gameplay. When everything looks like it belongs together, the game feels so much more polished and professional. Alright guys, next up, we're going back to the driving. This is a big one. The whole game is based around driving these vehicles and getting further and further on this track. But driving in this game is just, it's not fun. The controls, which we already touched on, just feel janky, and it felt almost impossible to control the flipping. Like, if you're flipping one way, that's all you're doing. And if you're going back, that's all you're doing. Everything felt too weirdly snappy. Overall, just not a smooth and fun experience driving these vehicles. I think one thing that could help you guys is turning the gravity down when you're in a vehicle. We've done this for certain things in my game, and it helped us so much. Especially for the in-air controllers, we just kind of turn the gravity down a little bit. Gives you some more time to flip more time to make choices in the air, and I think that would help a lot. Another thing that stood out while driving these vehicles was the gas system. I don't think there was ever a gas can in my whole time playing this game, and I played for about an hour. Now, there were these little red orbs that I picked up sometimes, but I didn't know if those were apples for colors to customize, or if it gave me a tiny sliver of gas in the tank, but nothing ever refilled it. In the normal hill climb racing, I find myself always playing to get to the next gas can, rather than to get my high score. It makes everything seem a lot less daunting, and it gives a little bit of struggle in the game. However, if you can never get to another gas can, you don't really feel like you can make it that far. It kind of crushes your hopes and dreams as you're running out of gas, because there's nothing you can do. Alright dudes, we gotta talk about it. Let's get on to the pets, I guess we'll call them. The opening system for these guys, super basic, and when you're looking at the ones you get, you don't feel too rewarded either. I had a common and a rare pet right next to each other, and they looked almost identical. Nothing in my mind was like, yes, I got a rare. This is way better than the common. I was like, is this the same? Why is this one rare? Why is this one common? Heck, even the legendaries don't feel special in comparison. All of the pets, we'll say, just feel like a super rushed late addition to the game. Also, the color code popping up when you hatch these things, why? It just added another layer of confusion. Like, why does the color code matter? I'd say a great way to fix this whole system up, the hatching itself or opening itself isn't horrible. I would remove the color code and I would completely overhaul the pets. You need them to feel more unique and more personalized. You want players to feel excited when they get a new pet, not bored. Next up, your gameplay loop of jumping into one of these races. There's another feature called race, so I'm not sure what we're gonna call the normal playing on the race but not racing, I don't know. But this gameplay loop felt like a chore. Just so much time between rounds to feel like you're making good progress. You die, then it spawns you away from your base. You have to walk back to your base, jump into your vehicle, and then wait for it to count down to jump into another one. I think a really simple solution to fix this would just be a quick start toggle. If you allowed players while they're in their car to toggle on a quick start, and it just puts them back in their car and counts down for another race after they die, I think that would be super helpful. Time is precious and nobody likes waiting around. Make it easy to jump right back into the game and keep going. Now for the map. I know we touched on this earlier, but yikes. This might be one of the most confusing parts of the game. It just feels like you had a bunch of things you were wanting to do, like all of these shops and spin the wheels and customizing and all this stuff, and you had no plan on how to put it into the game. These are all points of interest, and they should all be marked with a nice distinctive landmark, I guess. It would let players quickly understand which way they need to go and why they're going there. Instead, we have some 3D text on cylinders, or if you get close enough, some UI text pops up. But learning your way around this map just felt really unenjoyable. And I felt myself always looking for a sign to which of these circles I needed to go to for what I was trying to do. I would say add clear landmarks to each of these points of interest and make each area more distinct from each other. These all feel sort of copy and pasted. Players should quickly understand where they're going and why they're going there, instead of walking around aimlessly hoping to find what they're looking for. And the last thing I wanted to touch on as to why this game is probably not doing too well is the vehicle progression. Even maxing out my Jeep, it still felt awful. The car system, which I initially thought was a little janky but could be fixed by upgrading your vehicle, it's still janky, even after a maxed out vehicle. The driving didn't get any smoother, and I still didn't feel any sense of satisfaction. If you're gonna have a car upgrade system and buyable, better cars, you need to make it feel like it's worth it to upgrade. And you need to make sure that players feel like they're actually progressing. It needs to be noticeable. It needs to be satisfying. Right now, it feels like you're stuck with a vehicle that sucks. And then when you fully upgrade it, guess what? It still sucks. It's faster at sucking, but it still sucks. I maxed out this Jeep, and then I saved up for a long time to get this motorcycle, which was 1.5 million cash. It took me forever. And then I get it, and I was super excited because I like motorcycles, but I play with it and it was bad. It felt like the base motorcycle was the same, if not worse, as the base Jeep. And then the upgrades for the motorcycle were so much more expensive, and it just made me want to turn the game off. It made me not want to play to max it out because this new vehicle didn't feel like it was even gonna get me more money than the old vehicle. So why are the upgrades so much more expensive? Alright guys, I've definitely said a lot of not so great things about this game, but I feel like it's important to be honest with these developers so they have the best chance at success. But the game does deserve some love too, because it's not 100% a bad time. The parts in this game that feel good feel really good. One thing I really liked is the concept of building that little tycoon to unlock the customization shop. This is a great way to introduce things smoothly into your game instead of overwhelming everyone with that tutorial. For example, this tutorial you could say hop into a race, and then after the player completes that race, you could be like, congratulations, let's go buy a pet. Instead of just text wall after text wall, this would be a lot smoother. I did want to take a quick look at the game passes as well, because as developers we do hope to make a living off of our games. And looking at these, nothing felt special. The unlimited gas one is the only one that I would actually buy if I played this game quite a bit. Maybe that's out of necessity and fixing a problem that we talked about earlier, but even the game passes using a vector pack still style clash somehow. And you have a game pass called Porsche, which sounds awesome. Like, I would drive a Porsche in the game, and it has this blurry car image. It just, I don't know, man. I just feel like you could do a lot better here. Also, I think you should add a can't fall game pass. You know when you break your neck, like you fall backwards and you have to stop the race because you fell down? You should make a game pass that doesn't happen. It would definitely be your top seller. Anyways, back to the game. I started to get a lot better as I was playing longer and longer, but the casual player will not play this long. The only thing that kept me playing was I really wanted that motorcycle, and I don't think anybody is really going to be as passionate about unlocking a motorcycle in a Roblox game as me, so you can't really depend too much on that one. That is the main issues I found with this game. It will be the first link in the description if you do want to play it, and if you want to give the developer some feedback of your own, leave it in the comments below. But that'll wrap it up for today. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Have a great day. Later.